Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Danielle here with Shano, sitting in for Tom today. And if you've listened to us fill in, you know that we often like to cover stories about, privacy and net neutrality and internet freedom, because if it wasn't for those important protections, often how you hear this show might not be possible. Joining us now is Sophia Cope, staff attorney at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. EFF.org is the website, EFF on Twitter, and Scopacetic, awesome Twitter handle there. Thank you so much for joining us, Sophia.
Hi, thank you so much.
In all the talk about, privacy and internet freedom and net neutrality, this story, Google spying on 40 million school children, has flown under the radar. Thankfully, as always, the EFF is there working on it, protecting kids' internet freedom. Can you tell people listening a little bit about what's going on?
Sure. So thanks again for having me. As you noted, we're a digital rights organization, and we represent the interest of users and consumers. And we, over the last year or so, have been getting more and more requests from concerned parents who have been telling us that schools and school districts have been issuing mobile devices, basically tablets and laptops, to their children, and also having them sign up for cloud-based accounts where they can use different applications that are on the internet. And these parents suspected that there was probably some data collection going on without their consent, and so we decided to look into this. We launched, as you noted, this campaign called Spying on Students last week, and the focus of that campaign was actually Google, because Google is now the dominant player in the education technology marketplace, and they are deploying thousands upon thousands of Chromebooks in K-12 classrooms, and also creating accounts for students based on their personally identifiable information for their application suite called Google Apps for Education. And it's a cloud-based suite that teachers and schools use in the classroom. And
this has got positives and negatives. Obviously, it's a good thing that students have computers or tablets to work on. It's great that a big company is helping sponsor education. But Sophia, when I read about what information is being shared, all the way up to and including location of these devices and the students who are using them, how does that happen? How does that slip under the radar?
Well, that's the thing. The one thing we're asking for is more transparency, right? If you look at the Google website, they have pages and pages and pages of information, but really it's very difficult to decipher. So if you're a concerned parent and you have a child that who's been issued a Chromebook or has a Google Apps for Education online account, it's really, really hard to understand exactly what's going on. So yes, we are asking for more transparency. So what we focused on, and what we ended up doing in addition to launching our campaign, is that we filed a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission, which can issue sanctions against businesses that engage in unfair and deceptive trade practices. So earlier this year, Google had signed a voluntary pledge, a set of promises that they would not collect students' personal information and use it for commercial purposes without parental consent. And what we found out, and actually talking directly with the company and doing our own research, is that the company has been, of course, getting its foot in the door with schools by promising to provide educational services through, for example, Google Apps for Education. But once the kids are logged in with their personally identifiable accounts, so with their name and sometimes their birth date, their student identification number, once students are logged in to Google's system, then Google is tracking them across all of its services, all of its applications, including the students' internet browsing. And instead of just using that information to facilitate the classroom environment, Google is actually taking that information in a couple of different ways and using it for its own commercial benefit. In some cases, they're serving targeted advertisements to students. Other times, they're taking that information and analyzing it in a way that will ultimately help their bottom line. And again, Google promised to not collect this type of information and use it for commercial purposes without parental consent, and that's exactly what we claim that they've been doing.
Now, based on my research, school administrators have the ability to change privacy settings to limit what information is collected and how it's distributed. And the concerning point for me here, it also appears that schools have the ability to essentially use this data to sell it, to shop it around for their own advertising purposes. Am I completely misinterpreting that, or is that possibly accurate?
It's not our understanding that the schools are doing that. To speak to your point about privacy settings. Now, there are some privacy settings that are manipulatable at the device level and at the account level, as well as at the administrator level. And so, we obviously are encouraging parents and students and administrators to change the privacy settings in a way that is most privacy protective, or at least is consistent with the concerns or values that particular community has, or a particular school has, or particular parents or whatever. But there are some settings that are on by default, and in many cases, we believe that the school administrators don't even know that.
Yeah.
They don't understand what's being collected by having, certain settings on by default. We've asked Google to change defaults, and they haven't been particularly open to doing that. So it really depends, and there might be one particular setting that is useful for the school environment, for example, allowing students to have their bookmarks on their browser saved to the cloud, so that way they can access them when they log back in. But that same setting might also, in one instance, allow Google to collect basically browsing behavior, right? To track students and follow them around on the internet, and to sort of build a profile of students. So while an administrator or a teacher might think, oh, well, it's great to say bookmarks, they may not understand what else Google is collecting.
Now, obviously, you guys are going after Google, approaching the FTC, asking them to investigate that. That's probably a bigger scale than parents and teachers and students can participate in. So on the home level, what parents listening, students listening, or teachers, administrators, how can they help in this effort to make sure that students in their area have privacy protections?
That's a great question. So I encourage everyone to go to our campaign page, which is ESS.org/issues/student-privacy, or there's a student privacy link on our homepage as well. And we have a variety of tips for parents in there, including privacy settings. And several tips about how parents can be more active, right? So certain questions to ask when they go to PTA meetings or school board meetings, or if they want to set up meetings with their principals or the IT directors of the districts or of the schools. So we have a variety of sort of tips and tricks that parents can try to implement to be more active on this issue at a local level.
And I imagine that some of those are probably useful for privacy settings on home computers. So maybe you'll teach us all a thing or two about how to check our privacy settings. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us and explaining this.
Thank you.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.